Hello, everyone. My name is JT, the Talking Head. You are the audience, and you are listening to episode 2 of the Masters of Matinee podcast, a collaborative show between content creators who all share a great love of cinema and a passion for physical media. Our co host today is fellow film talker Drewbiedoobiemovie. Drew makes super chill videos on his TikTok page about movies and physical media, delivered with a laid back and laissez faire approach. Join us today as we discuss all manner of film, from the MCU to Ingmar Bergman, and get to know Drew a whole lot more in depth than you may see on TikTok. The Masters of Matinee would like to remind you all to please silence all cell phones and do enjoy the show. So, Drew, how are you today?
I am doing great today. Doing really good. How are you doing today?
I am awesome because I'm finally getting ready to sit down with a creator who I have admired for quite a while. Um, Thank you for joining us here. I have a question for you, and it's a question that I've decided I'm going to ask everybody their first time that they come and make an appearance on this show.
Okay, okay.
What is the last movie that you watched? And on a scale of 1 to 10, if that movie is now your life, how screwed are you?
So the last movie I watched was Blade Runner, and I think I'd be pretty screwed, man. I don't know if I can keep up with these replicants out here.
You just saw that in theaters, right?
Yeah, so the my theater that's right around the corner. I live in a downtownish area, not completely downtown, but like right outside of it. So we have a couple movie theaters, but we have an art cinema that's right around the corner, and they do these monthly things where it's like a either director or an actor, so to speak, and every Tuesday they'll do a throwback movie. And this month is Harrison Ford, so tonight was Blade Runner. So I got to see that on the big screen, and it was really, really cool, man.
That sounds awesome. Which cut was it?
It was the final cut.
Final Cut. So you got to see it with all
Yeah.
the color correction and stuff that he did, right?
Yes, sir. It was really beautiful up there. I mean, it's just for 82, I mean, it's just outstanding. A lot of those shots and scenes, it's just I don't understand how they did it. I really don't.
Yeah, that movie is absolutely insane. Like I remember because when I was growing up, I was never too big into sci-fi. And I was actually talking to Zed about this earlier today off of the recording that I grew up watching the original Star Wars trilogy, and I love the original Star Wars trilogy. Even to this day, that's like that. Those are the only Star Wars movies that I really like.
For sure.
And I'm not a huge sci-fi fan, but when I was like in high school, I started watching getting a little more into the sci-fi movies, and Blade Runner was one that I saw, and I believe I saw it with my dad the first time, and it blew me away because even more than it just being a sci-fi movie, it's got such a cool story to it, and the world that it
Yeah.
builds, that cyberpunk world, is
Mhm.
absolutely nuts, man. Like I love that movie.
Yeah, it's nutty, man. And I was just talking. I actually saw it with my dad and my little brother and my little brother's friend, whose name is Anakin. I could
Ah,
not believe it. I was like, I didn't say anything. I wasn't gonna be like, oh, so your parents are a Star Wars fan, because you just know he's not named Anakin for some other reason.
right.
But I saw it with them, and it was their first two times seeing it, and my dad hasn't seen it in forever, and we just all were like marveled at what we just witnessed on the big screen, and for it to be A2. And it's one of those stories that goes deeper. It's sci-fi, and there's some action elements in there, but it's more about who you are as a human and how far AI can go, and is it too far, is it too real, and there's just so many questions that are proposed to you that you have to answer yourself. And that's what I really like about this movie too. It doesn't hold your hand throughout the entire movie. You have to pick up on things, you have to pick up on names, and you got to know where you are. And I just love when movies do that, because it adds such a real life element to it that makes you want to connect with it on a deeper level.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Dude, that like the world though that it builds is it's beautiful in a way.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. but
Terrifying.
it's so like pretty to look at,
Yes.
and especially you said you saw the final cut with when he went back and redid the coloration and everything in it. So
Hmm.
I have the 4K disc of that. Have you seen the 4K disc of it?
Yes, I own that as well. That's one of those double dip copies that I have. I have DVD, Blu-ray, and I have the 4K of the final cut. I don't think the Blu-ray is the final cut, and I don't think the DVD is obviously, but that's one of those double discs where there's so many versions of it, you just kind of got to get them all.
Yeah, I want to get the other editions of it. Um, I have the DVD of the final cut, and then I have the 4K, and the 4K comes with the Blu-ray of the final cut. Um,
Hmm.
but I saw that for the first time in 4K, and the first time I ever saw it, I believe it was director's cut. Um,
Okay.
I can't remember what year he released that in, but it was like it was my dad's DVD copy, and it was in like one of those DVD snapper cases. You know what I'm talking about?
Ooh, yeah, I love a snapper case. It's nice when you find one of those.
Dude, my favorite one of those, I have Detroit Rock City on DVD snapper case. It's awesome.
Oh,
Um,
hell yeah.
but like I saw that for the first time as a kid, and I don't think I really connected with it. But then seeing it again as an adult when I saw the final cut when I bought it for myself on DVD, I was like really blown away by it. And then I saw it on the 4K, and that Blade Runner Final Cut 4K disc I think is one of my favorite 4K discs of all time.
Yeah,
It's
I'd have to
incredible.
agree with that.
Yeah.
It it really makes everything just pop out way more and gives justice to what they did and how they built that city and just made it look so futuristic. And it was made in the lower 80s. It's just a testament to the art that goes into actually making a movie.
Oh yeah, 100% man. Have you seen Alien in 4K yet?
Yes, yes, I have. I picked that up not too long ago, and I think I watched it the same day I got it, which is really, really, really rare for me. And I was just like, I have to see what this looks like on 4K.
I don't have the 4K of it. I've seen I think it was on Netflix or maybe Paramount Plus or something like that. One of the streaming services
Okay. Yeah,
that I
yeah.
saw. It was the highest quality I'd ever seen it because I'd only ever had it on DVD, and it looked amazing on a
Hmm.
streamer. So I can only imagine how insanely good it would look on disc. And Alien's one of my favorite sci-fi movies. I have no idea why I don't own that uh, on 4K. I don't know
It
what's wrong with me.
it's a good one to buy because I totally agree. Those dude, he's one of the Ridley Scott is just he just knew what it's so futuristic. Like he goes beyond what other people do. It's that creative space of like out of the ordinary futuristic. I feel like a lot of sci-fi, like newer sci-fi movies get stuck with just doing like, oh, bigger cities, shinier cities. Like I want something different. I want something out of the normal. Like I don't want to see like, oh, in 500 years we're still building the tallest cities ever. Like it just keeps going up. But with Ridley Scott, like that ship he creates, and when they're in that communication room, that white room with all the lights, it crazy. It looks so good. It looks so realistic, but in a futuristic way.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think I'm gonna add the 4K of the 4K disc of Alien to my list. Now, you know, there is something to be said about those movies, of course, where they try to make the futuristic utopia. But what about futuristic dystopia? What's like your favorite like future apocalypse
Ooh,
type movie?
ooh. Brazil, by far Brazil. I just actually watched this a second time with one of my really good friends, and she absolutely loved it, and I was so happy because it's by Terry Gilliam, and you know him. He likes to get. He's one of the most creative directors I've seen, and like writers too, because he writes a lot of the stuff too. But it's Brazil is basically based off of so it was made in the I'm gonna have to look it up so I don't say it wrong. But during this time, it was like super like office forward. Like everyone was working at 9 to 5 and everyone loved the 9 to 5 and it was just like office work. It was made in 85. So this is when all those big cities were going up and everyone's booming the 9 to 5. And he just takes that and just explodes it. It's like, well, what if this was all there was? And it's almost like a joke on that whole lifestyle. Because Terry, he loves his comedy, man, and that's the other thing I like. It's like this crazy dystopian future where it's dark and gloomy, and no one really, the main character, like, doesn't even want to go up in his job because he knows it's like meaningless and doesn't add anything to his life. And it's just like Terry adds this sense of humor to the story to like keep you going and not make it so dreary that you don't want to watch. So I think Brazil is probably my favorite like futuristic dystopian society. Close second though is the Lost City. I think that's what it's called. I'm gonna look it up. Hold on. I got so many movie titles in my head, but Brazil is so good. I love Terry.
I don't believe I've seen Brazil. I've only seen a couple of Gilliam's movies. I've seen, funny enough, all three of them are in Criterion Collection, except for the Monty Python movies. Of course, I've seen his Monty Pythons, um, but Fisher King, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and Princess Bride. Um,
Ooh,
all three of those are three of my, well, two of three of my favorite movies. I liked Fisher King. I don't know if I'd classify it as one of my favorites, but I really did like it. Robin Williams was a peach in that, man.
yeah, dude. Robin Williams is so good in that movie. He makes that movie for me. I love Jeff Bridges so much, but um I don't know if Robin Williams wasn't standing there doing it with him. I don't know if that movie would have hit the same.
That's what I told my wife, because my wife really did not like the movie, but she loves Robin Williams, so of course she watched it
Yeah,
for Robin Williams and she enjoyed his parts. And I told her, I said, this movie was an 8. And it was an 8 because of Robin Williams. If Robin Williams was not in this movie, it would be a 6.
yeah.
He was
I
that
mean,
good. He brought it up 2 whole
yeah.
points.
That's not a crazy statement at all. I'd get behind that. It's like I like the writing and I like the story itself, but Robin Williams brought that story to life because that whole emotional ending, it's not going to hit the same because you basically just fall in love with this character of a broken man, to the core, a broken man, and just trying to find his way out. And that again, Terry's creativity in this and that whole like dream state that he's in when he's like the horse is like chasing after him with the knight on it.
Oh yeah.
I love when he does that shit. He does that stuff in Brazil and it just adds so much more to the story and it's just fun. And I love when directors and writers can fit fun into their serious movies. Some stories need to be serious all the way, but I just think it's adds a little more flavor to it, so to speak.
And I think that movie too was, I mean, it being a 6 without Robin Williams is still an okay movie. It's 6 on my scale of 1 to 10. A 6 is a good movie. 5 is
Yeah,
mid, 6 is good, 6 and 7 are good, 8 is great, nine's awesome, 10's perfect. Like,
right.
so
Yeah.
it's still a good movie at a 6.
Right. A
And
six is like a three, 3.5. It's like right around that area.
right. And I think there is something to be said about that movie, because of Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges is one of my all-time favorite actors. The Big Lebowski is a
Oh
top
yeah.
3 favorite movie for me, and he watching him do his thing in The Fisher King and play, like, it really showed off his acting chops because his character in Fisher King was such a dick. I mean, he
Hmm.
was a horrible person all the way around, just a
Horrible
horrible
person.
person.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's such a far cry from who Jeff Bridges is as a person. Because I don't know if
The
you've really,
furthest thing.
yeah, have you read anything like about Jeff Bridges as a person? Because he's basically the real life dude.
Yeah, no, I haven't read too much into it, but I'm always a sucker for those interview videos that pop up on Twitter and stuff. And he was getting interviewed with um Steve Buscemi and Goodman about I think this was around the time of like the 20th, 25th anniversary of Lebowski,
Yeah, I think I've seen this too.
and they were just sitting there talking, and I was like, this he is the dude. Like he is literally talking and just relaxing and just having conversations like he is the chillest person in the world, and I
Yep.
loved it.
Yeah. Yep. So seeing him play that just absolutely monstrous person in in the Fisher King, it
Yeah,
really
yeah,
it almost makes me want to bump it up another point just because of Jeff's acting in it. Like it's very impressive when an actor can deliver something that's such a far cry away from, because like he you can tell he didn't even put any of his own like personality into that. It was all
yeah,
a
yeah.
performance.
It's a
Like
totally different character, person. He can't relate to that person at all, you know?
yeah. It's kind of like I worry when actors do that sometimes because I worry it might break their own integrity and you might get like a Heath Ledger type situation again. But
Yeah, I mean, that and, like, Evan Peters has come out and been like, "I'm not doing any more scary, messed up, murdering people anymore. I can't do it. My mentality is through the roof right now. I am done playing those characters." And I'm happy for him. I want him to get away from that because as good as he is at that, I mean, that is his bread and butter. I can imagine how that is hard on your mental.
so I loved him in Dahmer.
Yes.
Like I hated that show just because you really should hate that show. It's a if you if that's your favorite show, I think that you probably should go get checked out.
Yeah, yeah, that's not the best feel good show to be like, "Yeah, I just turned it on when I need some comfort in my life."
Right, right. But you know what role that I would love Evan Peters to return to? Quicksilver.
Oh, yeah, yep. Yeah, that WandaVision, did you see WandaVision?
No, not yet. My wife and I
Oh,
are
man.
actually currently like I've seen most of the MCU movies up until Endgame, and then I stopped
Okay,
watching after Endgame, except
yeah,
for Spider-Man: No Way Home because I like Spider-Man a lot.
for
Um,
sure.
but I we have been watching the MCU in cinematic order, which is something I've never done, and I'm actually really finding love for the MCU again by watching it in order of story of canon. And
Yeah,
we're on the first Black Panther right now. Is where
okay.
we stopped right before that. I think the last one we watched was Ant Man or no Civil War, Captain America Civil War.
Okay, yeah. That's impressive. That's a lot of movies to go through, but it does add a totally different tone to the story when everything is like connecting and
Yeah.
it's everything is just way more smooth rather than being like, "Oh, I saw that movie 4 years ago and I'm supposed to like remember this one scene that's
Yep.
going to turn around and bring it back to this thing." It's going to all be it's just way easier to see the whole connecting story, which is really cool.
Have you seen all of the MCU?
So I've seen mostly all the MCU, the newer stuff. Like I've seen all the older stuff, but the newer stuff is where I kind of fell off. I mean, I watched Loki, I watched WandaVision, I didn't watch Moon Knight, I didn't watch She-Hulk, I didn't watch I feel like there's one more I didn't tune into, but I've seen a I think I've kept up on the movies though. I saw Doctor Strange, the Sam Raimi one, and I enjoyed it. Some people did not enjoy it, but I love Sam Raimi, so that might be a conflicting factor for me, but I enjoyed it. But I love me some MCU. I have like mixed feelings on the MCU, honestly. It some movies are awesome, some movies drag, but like the whole end game stuff, it like was really cool to see everything build up and be this big story, but like I don't know, for them to do it a second time, I'm just interested to see if they're gonna if it's gonna get that big again, you know?
Right. Well, I'll say this: going back and watching in cinematic order, I've got to watch a couple movies that I didn't get to see after that came out after Endgame that take place before Endgame, which
Okay.
are Black Panther, with not Black Panther, shoot, Black Widow,
Black
which
Widow, yeah,
I
yeah.
gotta say, even though I mean, spoilers alert for anybody who ain't seen the end of Phase Four, even though we know that Natasha is R.I.P. Um,
Right.
it it kind of and I can see that it kind of felt like have you seen Black Widow first of all?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
I saw it in theaters.
That movie made me feel a bunch of different emotions. Like first and foremost, obviously made me feel like, huh, well, this kind of feels like a moot point that there's this big victory and she's riding off into the sunset. Um, when we know a couple movies later she's gonna die. But it also made me be like, I really want more Florence Pugh in the MCU.
Yeah.
She
Yes,
was
bro.
awesome. She was
Yeah.
amazing. And the other movie that I got to watch for the first time was one that I was actually pretty adamantly opposed to watching because it just didn't look like it appealed to me, which was Captain Marvel. And I was
Mhm.
kicking myself in the nuts for not watching Captain Marvel sooner. I think that's probably one of my favorite MCU movies. I loved it. I loved the way that it really made you feel for the Kree and gave you like the history of the Kree, and it kind of made me like look at Ronan in a new light and see that Ronan the Accuser was like how much of a bad guy he was. Like it made
Mhm.
me think like he's not just Thanos's little uh, bitch boy. He's
Mhm.
actually a nasty dude. He completely risked the peace treaties that the Kree had to go and do his thing, and it's so messed up. But I
Mhm.
liked that Captain Marvel put that into perspective for me.
Yeah, the people like to hate on Captain Marvel, and I just don't get it. As far as a Marvel movie, I don't see how it's any worse than the worst movies, because there are some bad ones in there. But I liked Captain Marvel. I liked what they did with her character. I liked that it was more of like, how did we get here? Like, and like you said, like, who are the Kree? How did they get here? What are they doing? And I mean, the ending alone, like, just I love the fact that she didn't find her true potential until the end, and then she just literally, just in 2 seconds, just erased all of those people, and like, yeah, I'm like, that was sick, like that was awesome, and now you're excited because when they were in release order, not in like cinematic order, they released that right before Infinity Wars, right? So it's like that's the last thing you see before you see Infinity Wars. This whole new character get introduced, and you just see her take out three huge battleships. And then the next time you see her, she's fighting with everyone. So it's like kind of like a who she is and why is she this powerful before you see her basically fuck everyone up. Like, and I'm for it. I'm for it.
Oh, absolutely, man. And I gotta say, Brie Larson as Captain Marvel was like, I think she was the perfect casting for that character.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree with that. I think she's the perfect balance
Mhm.
of someone that can add humor to the scene, but also that raw emotion. And then she holds herself up very, very well too. Like she is powerful. So I agree. I don't think
Right.
they could have found anyone else.
I'll tell you why I never why I never wanted to see the Captain Marvel movie as well. Um, to me, she seems like Marvel's female answer to Superman, and
Hmm.
I very much do not like Superman. I think Superman's the most overrated, overpowered, and boring superhero.
Oh man, now this is a hot take right here.
It's actually a more popular take than you would think.
Really? I'm not
Yes.
well, I'm not super into DC and Superman and everything, so I don't really have a view on that. The only thing I got into DC wise was like Batman and um that's basically it. But I feel like everyone loves Superman. I feel like everyone's always in his corner, but I guess not. No, this is more of common than I think.
Um, at least amongst the people that I talk to, yeah. It's just like how uncool is it to see a hero that like I don't know, it seems like he never even breaks a sweat.
Yeah,
Like
that's true.
it feels like, with Batman, there has been so many times that he's been tattered and torn down. And yeah, there has been
Yeah,
times when somebody has come in, like when Superman faces Zod. Zod's a real challenge for Supes, sure.
yeah,
But when you're reading comics and stuff like Justice League and everything, and if they ever try to like pit the Justice League against like Earth villains, like that's that's nothing. Superman can defeat him with a flick of his finger.
yeah, yeah. That's not. There's not much there.
Yeah, and it's just like why even call Superman at that point? Like Batman and Batman and the Flash or the Green Lantern could handle all of Earth's villains, and you just need to keep Superman stationed in space, like to
Yeah,
protect the Earth at that point.
yeah. Just keep
Like,
him in space. That's all. That's all he needs to be doing.
yeah, growing up, I liked
No, I
the
agree.
I like I like DC Comics, like reading the comics a lot better. And I was
Hmm.
one of those comic fans that I was never able to afford to go and get like issues as they came out. So like all of my knowledge of comics is so discombobulated because like I would get like back issues that just looked appealing to me and I would pick up a story in the middle of it and then never be able to finish it because I'd never be able to complete the story. Um and that sucks, but at the same time, I kind of have a appreciation for comic fans like that because I don't know. To me, it just kind of shows that it kind of helps you develop really what you do like, and it gives you a little bit of flavor of everything overall. Um,
Yeah. Hmm.
like for example, my favorite superhero is probably not who most people would expect. And it's not for the reason when I tell you this is not for the reason that your mind is probably immediately going to go to, but
Okay.
my favorite superhero is Green Arrow, and it's not
Okay.
because of the Arrow show on CW. Although that is a pretty good
Okay.
show.
Didn't watch the full show of Arrow, but I watched seasons and I liked it a lot. But I don't know much about the Green Arrow, but he seems like a badass. Why do you like him so much?
Oliver Queen is pretty much Bruce Wayne, but he's younger, scrappier, and hungrier in every way. And
Okay.
he's
Okay.
not as dark as Batman is. Like he's not like brooding like that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
He's a much more lighthearted hero. And I'll tell you what really turned my love for Green Arrow. Um, did you know that Kevin Smith writes comic books?
I'm not gonna say I knew that for sure, but I had a feeling he did. But I didn't know if that for sure. Does he have a lot of like lines out, or is it just like kind of a few?
He's got a line for Green Hornet, for Batman, um, for Batman 66 meets the Green Hornet, which is a really interesting read. For
Okay.
Daredevil, which is one of my absolute favorite stories, and for Green Arrow. And
Damn, I did not know that.
yeah, dude, like if you could ever get your hands on some of Kevin Smith's like comics, he's so dialogue heavy. He really makes you like learn the characters' personalities opposed to just them just going in and kicking ass. Like he writes for the character, not for the action. So
Yeah.
like he does a lot of development that way. And his he did two lines for Green Arrow, Quiver and Sounds of Violence, I believe is the second one,
Okay.
and they are both just so so good. They're my favorite comic line of all time, probably tied with Batman Killing Joke, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah. Did they make the Killing Joke a movie? Is that a movie like an animated movie? Did they
Yeah,
do that one?
yeah.
Yeah. I think I've seen the movie. I definitely haven't read the comics. The only I did not get into comics when I was a kid or even as a young adult, and I'm kind of glad because I have a collector's mentality, so I feel like I would start and not stop. But I
Yeah.
will say I read I think this is kind of somewhat new, but it was like DC like versus vampires, and it was such a
Yep.
cool story, and I loved the drawings and the colors and the story itself was really cool too. So it definitely made me want to kind of jump into comic books a little more because I feel like there's so many cool superhero stories out there that I just haven't even gotten to, rather than the ones they keep feeding us in movies and stuff. I feel like it's all the same. But I do have a question real quick though. So in Mallrats, when Stan Lee is in Mallrats, did Kevin Smith get him to do that because he was already writing for all those comic books, or is that after?
Kevin was not writing comic books at the time, no.
So that was just coming my he just got Stan Lee to be in this movie. I feel like that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I don't know the exact story behind it, but like he I think that at that time Kevin was kind of on fire because you got to think Mallrats was only his sophomore feature. It was number
Right,
2,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
Clerks sold like crazy once Miramax bought it. And that kind of made him kind of like a hot commodity indie filmmaker, and Universal threw some real money at him to make Mallrats.
Okay, yeah.
And so I think that he probably was just like they were like, "Who would you like to get?" And he probably went in swinging his big dick around, being like, "I want Stan Lee. I want Stan Lee." They're like,
Yes.
"Really? You want the Because you got to think, man. In 1990, what when did Mars come out? 92. Like
92, I believe, yeah.
like Stan Lee was popular amongst comic book fans, sure, insanely popular, but not against. He wasn't mainstream. It wasn't. Like Mallrats is one of those movies. It bombed in the box office probably because of its super reliance on geek culture. But
Mhm.
now that geek culture is so mainstream, Mallrats is beloved and it's caught. I would say Mallrats is probably more than cult status at this point. It's probably full blown mainstream geek status at this point. Um, so the studio probably looked at Kevin and was like, "Really? You want this guy? All right, I guess we'll pay him $2 and a sandwich." Like, I can't imagine.
Yeah,
Like, I can't imagine it would have been that
that is true.
insanely difficult to get Stanley
Yeah.
at that point in time.
And I feel like Stan Lee is the kind of guy to be like, yeah, for sure. He probably didn't even know who Kevin Smith was, and he was just like, yeah, I'll be in this movie. I'll talk comics. I'll give a emotional, motivational speech to this guy, and crack a few jokes.
Did you notice Stan's cameo in Captain Marvel is that he's sitting on that train and he's reading the script from Mallrats?
Is that what he's reading? I haven't
Yep.
seen Captain Marvel in forever. That's crazy. That's actually really cool.
Yep. Nope. That's what he's doing. He's sitting on the train when she's chasing the dude through the train, and he's sitting there and he's reading the script for Mallrats because that movie takes place when Mallrats was in production.
Oh, that's right. And I just looked it up. It was 95 when
95. All right.
Mallrats was made. Yeah. But that is crazy. That's crazy detail right there. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Kevin Smith. I've been sleeping on Kevin Smith. I'm gonna be real with you. I saw Clerks when I was in high school, and then I hadn't watched another Kevin Smith movie until probably like I think a year ago. I started being like, I need to get Kevin Smith movies. So I started collecting. I got Clerks 2, got Mallrats, and then I got Chasing Amy, and I started watching and I was just like, yeah, I get it. I get it now. The dude is a genius. This is hilarious. I honestly think Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is low key my favorite one. I think that's like the funniest one, but they're
it's
all
a
so
lot of people's
good.
funniest. It's because that was one of the movies that was so much more accessible.
Hmm.
Because I think when you look at Kevin's filmography as a whole, and you look at how he writes movies, he doesn't write movies for a mainstream audience. They're not studio budget movies that are going to be blockbusters. And a matter of
Yeah,
fact, every time that a studio gave him a lot of money to make them a blockbuster, it failed in the box office. I mean,
of
Mallrats,
course.
Jersey Girl, Zack and Miri, Cop Out, all bombed. So
Zach and Mary gets way too much hate. I looked it
they all
up on
do.
Letterboxd to see like what Zach and Mary was rated, and it's sitting at like a 2.3, and that's just wrong. That movie is so funny in every single way. I get it's about what's going, what it's
Yeah.
about, okay, but it's hilarious. There's so many how many times in a year I say hug it, chug it, football randomly? Like way too many times to count. That was one of the funniest scenes in any movie, damn near.
I think that Zack and Miri suffers from the fact that it is a Judd Apatow movie without having Judd Apatow in it or at the helm of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
I
because
see what
because
you're saying.
because like yeah, at the time like Rogan was Apatow's boy. Like he was
Hmm.
in Knocked Up
Knocked up. Yep.
and Super Bad and
Hmm.
Pineapple Express and like he was like top of the comedy movie world. And then Kevin comes along and he makes Zack and
Mm.
Miri, and the studio wanted Rogan in it, and they were like, I think Rogan probably had a lot of input into his character and everything, so it kind of ended up coming off as like an Judd Apatow movie without having Judd Apatow at the helm of it, and I think a lot of people didn't like that. I do agree
Yeah.
with you though; it does get way too much hate, but all of those movies do. Cop Out is a
Yeah.
fine buddy comedy; it's fine. Like, it's not great, but it's fine. Jersey
Hmm.
Girl is actually one of the best romantic like dramedies that I've ever seen in my life, and Mallrats is certified geek culture. Like,
Yeah, dude. Mallrats is good.
but like the thing with Kevin's writing though, if you notice, and it's why I think that a lot of his movies don't hit for everybody, is because he writes how people like in our demographic usually speak to each other. A lot of
Yeah.
heavy language and a lot
Yeah.
of
Have yeah.
using pop culture references. Even back in Clerks,
Hmm.
before it was cool to use pop culture references in your everyday lingo, he was using it to write a movie. He wrote a movie completely about the dialogue is filled with pop culture references. All of his movies are.
Yeah.
Like, or at least all the View Askew movies are. And then Jay and Silent
Hmm.
Bob comes out, and it's so akin to a Bill and Ted and a Cheech and Chong and a Wayne's World. It's a
Hmm.
stoner buddy comedy, which is
Hmm.
honestly such a relatable and easy market to crack. Like, let's be honest, it's not a hard market to crack a stoner buddy comedy. Like, some of them fail, but like most of them, it's not that hard to make a dude that's high on dope laugh pretty hard at a stupid joke, you
Yeah.
know? Like,
No.
gotta
Well, and they even joke about it in the movie, don't they? They literally have a scene where they're like, "Man, who the hell would come out and see this movie about us two doing this and doing this stupid shit? You know, no one would watch that." And then they pan straight to the camera and stare at us, and it's stuff like that that I really just love about Kevin Smith, and it's
yeah.
just played so well because he really just doesn't care about the money and like how much money is this movie gonna make. He loves making movies, he loves making people laugh, and it really seeps through in his work.
Yeah, for sure, man. And Kevin Smith is one of my all-time favorite filmmakers, period. Like, I have he probably is. I would go as far as say he is my favorite. I've been to the Quick Stop where they filmed Clerks. I've been to Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash in Red Bank, New Jersey.
Wow.
I have a ticket to that though because my wife is from New Jersey. I'm actually
Okay.
getting ready to go up there in August, so I'm probably gonna go hit up the
Nice.
stash again.
Dude, that's
Um,
sick.
it's awesome. If you ever get to go up to Jersey, bro, do yourself a favor. Go to Red Bank. Go to the Secret Stash. It's so worth it because he's pretty much built it like a museum of his filmography.
That's
And
so sick.
then it's actually on the other hand too. It's an actual operating comic book store. Like,
Oof.
it's great. Did you ever watch Comic Book Men?
No, I did not.
Do you know what that is?
No, I have no idea what that is.
So, Comic Book Men was a show on AMC. It used to come on after The Walking Dead,
Okay.
and it's basically Pawn Stars but comic books, and it
Okay.
takes place in Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash. It's about that shop,
Damn.
and
That's cool.
the guys who run it are all Kevin's friends and guys that he's known his entire life, and some of them have even been in his movies. Do you remember in Clerks the guy who's inspecting all of the eggs?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's Walter Flanagan.
Mm-hmm.
He was the manager of the Secret Stash for years and years, and he was the manager when they were doing Comic Book Men, so he was in that a lot. And I've met him a couple times. Um, and it's just it was such a fun show to watch, and I hate that it got canceled after like 6 seasons, I think, which I still
Hey,
think
that
was a big mistake on AMC. But
yeah, but I'm honestly surprised it lasted 6 seasons. Not that it wasn't that good, but I just feel like they wouldn't have let him you know do that for that long, so to speak. I guess. But that's a really cool idea. I like that a lot. That sounds really fun. I'll have to try and check that out. You think it's on YouTube or something?
do you have Amazon Prime?
Yes.
Last time I checked, it was on Prime Video.
All right, let's go. I might have to check that out.
Yep, it's super dope. Hey everyone, this is the point during the podcast where we typically would like to roll a mid roll sponsor ad, but We don't have any of those, so until we do, we're just going to take this time in the middle of the show to shout you out, our amazing community, for listening to this episode. I hope you are enjoying it so far. Your response to the inaugural first episode last week with Zed was incredibly humbling, at the same time super exhilarating. It kicked us into gear and made us just want to keep on keeping on this awesome collaborative project. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this show, and remember to give us a follow on our social media platforms and to leave a like or a rating for the show on whatever platform you're listening to. Also, a quick mid-roll announcement. Breaking the news, Masters of Matinee is also now officially available on Google Podcasts. So if that is your preferred platform and you've been listening to us over on YouTube or Spotify, go and follow us over there. Keep on keeping on. Thanks. And now back to the show. So, Drew, I want to know, I'm going to pivot a little bit here. I want to know about your love for movies. Where did your appreciation for film and cinema come from?
Well, I would say, man, growing up, I always there was because back in the day there was only physical media before the streaming services, and my dad had a decent collection, nothing really too crazy, but so we always watched movies growing up, and I kind of phased out after I graduated. And I moved out as soon as I graduated. So I was 18, living on my own with some friends, and it kind of faded away from me for a while because I was so busy just in my pre-adult life, just living it up, with no adults to tell me to stop living it up. So then I moved out, and then when I moved in with my wife, it started coming back, and I started watching movies and started being like, dude, I really love this. I want to like own this too. And I think I'm trying to remember the movie that really it was Arrival. I remember watching Arrival and being like, that was so good. The story, the cinematography, the score, and everything, and I was just like, I gotta go further, I gotta watch more, I gotta. And then it just totally dove into me watching more serious film. Like, I hadn't ever watched like serious film before. It was always like kind of leisure films, like relaxing films, funny. But I started diving into the more serious stuff, and I kind of just got lost in it, into the art of just not only like, oh, is this entertaining? I'm starting to look at it like, that shot was really, really, really cool. Oh, like you start pick up things about the screenplay and the soundtrack and how certain things line up, and you just start to realize the whole movie, what goes into a movie is so much more than meets the eye and then what people really know. And it just took me by storm, man. I really can't. And then I started watching movies with my friends too, and I really think that amplified it because now you're sharing these movies with the people you love, and you're able to talk about certain things that maybe you couldn't ever really talk about because it would never get brought up. And now you watch this movie that makes you feel certain ways that you get to discuss with your friends afterwards. It's really a beautiful thing, and I really do think it brings a lot of people together. And like, I mean, it brings my family together. I just saw a movie with my family, and it's a good way to like reconnect with people that you haven't seen in a while too. It's just dude, man, it's just beautiful. I love movies, and I love buying movies too. That's the other thing.
Where did the love of like physical media come in? Like, I mean, I know you said that growing up, you always kind of had it around, which was kind of the same for me. I know I'm going to repeat myself here because I mentioned this on the last episode, but like my dad had a collection and he still has a
Hmm.
collection. At this point, my collection way dwarfs his, but
Right. Yeah.
he didn't
Hmm.
have cable or anything growing up, and this was before streamers and everything, of course.
Yeah.
And so like going over to his house and stuff was always, it was either a book or watch a DVD or a VHS tape. And so I was always kind of around it, but like as far as like you when did you actively choose that, like come to that realization like, oh, even in 2020s, in the modern age where streaming is really the giant, where did you come to the conclusion that you're like, I want to own this, and how did you get to that conclusion?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I bought a really, really big TV when I was like 21 or 22. Finally saved up enough money for it, and I was like, man, I want to watch awesome movies on my big TV. And then that kind of snowballed into me being like, I want your DVD players. And because this is when 4K started really becoming like more mainstream. I know a lot of people still have their disregards about 4K and whatnot. And you have to get the 4K player for it. But which I understand completely. I mean, the discs themselves are more expensive too. So it's an expensive habit to get into, but the whole not dropping frame rates and there's no buffering, and it's just, and also with the 4K, I feel like especially a lot of the newer ones, they come with the Dolby Atmos sound too, and like the visual aspects of the Dolby Atmos. I've been seeing a lot of those, so it's just like amplifies your viewing actually started off with buying 4Ks. And then I moved out of where I was staying to move in with my wife. And that's when kind of things started snowballing. I was like, man, I started to go into like disc replay because I'm really lucky. I live in an area where I'm surrounded by disc replay, the exchange, Goodwills, half price books, Best Buy. So I started going to disc replay, and they have these sales, right? Where it's like get 3 Blu-rays, get 3 free, and it's unlimited. So if you get 9 Blu-rays, you get 9 for free, and so on and so forth. And that's what really started it, because I was like, I love this movie, I'm gonna get this movie. Oh, I love this movie, I'm gonna get this movie. Because I literally started with nothing, and me getting back into movies, I started being like, oh, I want all these old movies that I loved watching that I haven't seen in forever. And then when you go deeper into that, you start finding movies you've never heard of because you're going through. I feel like when I go through disc replay, there's some times where I will go through every single DVD, or not DVD, Blu-ray, every single Blu-ray they have. They have a lot of DVDs. I go through all the Blu-rays, top to bottom, and anything that stands out to me, whether it's the title or what the cover looks like or anything like that, I'll look it up real quick, see if I'm interested, and I'll get it. And I do a lot of blind buys, and then that kind of led to foreign films, and foreign films led to Criterion, and Criterion led to Arrow, because I didn't even know about the boutique industry, and like I didn't know about Arrow, I didn't know about Vinegar Syndrome, and then that led to Steelbooks, and it's just the biggest downhill snowball effect of just loving movies, loving owning it, loving being able to be like, I get up today, I'm gonna go watch Persona by this amazing foreign director that a lot of
Ingmar
people don't get
Bergman.
to, yeah, that a lot of people don't get to experience,
I have
and
a
it's just
funny
like,
story about Persona. I'll tell you in a minute.
so so it's just like it's just one of those things where you just love it, and you love owning it, and you love being able to go to that shelf, pick up the movie, put it in the DVD player, see that menu. Oh, that menu is amazing. And then you press play, and then not to mention the bonus content that comes with it. I mean, there's some movies that don't have any, and there's some movies that have a ridiculous amount, especially all the like the anniversaries. But I love that stuff. I remember when I watched Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind, and I was watching the bonus material, and I watched Denny Villeneuve, who made Arrival, talk about how Strange Encounters of the Third Kind, and made him want to write Arrival, and got ideas from that and just expanded on them. And you see the similarities between the two, and it's just so cool to see that and hear other people talk about this movie, especially directors and stuff. So I just think there's a lot of good that the DVDs and Blu-rays bring to like the experience of watching this movie, and then you love this movie, and then you want to know more about it, and you can literally do that as soon as you get done watching it and go back to the menu and hit that bonus, materials slot. And it's just, I just love it, and I don't think it's gonna stop anytime soon.
I'm kind of the same way. Once I discovered the boutique labels, and also once I discovered 4K, it kind of just snowballed for me as well. I would still
Mhm.
buy DVD all the time. I picked up my first ever Criterion years ago before I even knew what Criterion was, and it was Chasing Amy, Kevin Smith's movie. And I picked it
Mhm.
up just because it was a Kevin Smith movie. And then when I kind of discovered what Criterion was through like YouTube and stuff, and I was like, I want to really I want to get into this and stuff. And I noticed that I had Chasing Amy, and I was like, oh, it's cool. I've already started, and I didn't even realize it. And so
Yeah.
the first one I actually actively bought was A Hard Day's Night, the Beatles movie,
Okay.
and then I participated in my first Barnes and Noble sale, and
Mhm.
the first three, no, four movies. I bought four movies that sale. I bought Down by Law, which is a Jim Jarmusch movie, and that's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Okay.
I bought Dead Man, which is another Jim Jarmusch starring Johnny Depp. It's a western starring Johnny Depp. I bought Ingmar Bergman's The Seventh Seal, which I think Seventh Seal is one of the best movies that's ever been made. Period. If you haven't seen Seventh Seal,
Yeah, it's on my list, man. I need to get to it. I've heard great things. Damn. Okay, I'll have to put. I want to put all these on my list. You said Johnny Depp in a western. Sign me up. I've never seen that either.
um, and then the fourth movie I bought was Ingmar Bergman's Persona.
Nice.
And when I bought this, I was at my dad's house. My wife and I were visiting him, and we went to a Barnes and Noble to get these. And we went back to the house and we popped in Persona because my dad was like, "Oh, Seventh Seal, I like that movie." Oh, I also
Mhm.
bought the Wim Wenders film Wings of Desire. That's another
Okay.
great one. That's another one of those. It's like one of the best films ever made. It's a German movie. So we put in Persona, and after we watched Persona, all three of us were just kind of like, "What the did we just watch? What was that?"
Yeah.
And I've not watched it since, but I've done reading on it and tried to understand it more. And I love the theming of it, the theming of isolation
Mhm.
and going insane in it, and how you're not really sure who's real and who's not. It's like Robert Eggers' The Lighthouse. Have you seen The Lighthouse?
Oh yeah, Lighthouse is amazing.
It's draws a lot of similarity to Persona, does it not? Am I the only one in thinking that?
No, I feel like it does. I feel like it does for sure. I mean, the whole prospect of like, who am I? Am I here? Are you here?
Hmm.
And just trying to find. I mean, yeah, the lighthouse for me too is just like beautifully written too, and just so eerie. And I feel like that eeriness also is in Persona of just I just like you're almost on edge the whole time, and you don't know why you're on edge until the end. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah, for sure.
I personally love movies where you have to kind of look stuff up at after you watch it. Like I know a lot of people it's that's not their jam, but like I watched The Green Knight in theaters and I was like amazed by it. I thought it was visually amazing. I liked the story. I liked the ending. I was really into it, but I'm not going to lie, I was a little confused. And so when we got out, we looked it up and like it's obviously based off of medieval story and we like read the story and we read all this like stuff that was talking about the similarities and everything and it made me appreciate that movie way more because of what they did and how they did it and I just love movies where they take that much care into it and it's like where again it doesn't hold your hand to the point where you gotta be thinking and sometimes like when I watched David Lynch's Lost Highway I watched a YouTube video right after I got done with it because I needed some help. And that's okay. It's okay to do that. And I think it makes the movie that much better too.
Lost Highway is on my list to get hopefully in July during the Criterion sale. I've not seen it. I want to get that and Inland Empire as well.
That
Um,
sale, that Criterion sale is dangerous, man.
very
And they do it every year. And every year I'm like, take
tw-
my money, please.
twice a year, bro. Twice.
That is, yeah, because they do it themselves and then they do Barnes and Noble, right?
Barnes and Noble. So Criterion runs, I think, usually 2 50% off flash sales on their website,
Hmm.
which are only 24 hours. They do two of those a year.
Hmm.
And then Barnes and Noble does two for the entire months of November and July.
Oh, okay. All
So
right.
if you miss any next month, then you'll have November. Just keep that in mind. Um,
Okay. Bet.
what on that sale? What are your what's on your list to pick up from Criterion?
I think my goal for this time, because I have a lot of things already that I like, am really happy with and like, and I think what I usually do is I pick two that I want, and then I pick two that I've never heard of, or like, or from a foreign director, or like a foreign movie in general. I try to get, because I feel like they have a lot of them, and that's something that I've been always trying to work on these past couple years, is watching more foreign film, because there's a lot of amazing film out there that I haven't even touched, because they're not mainstream and they're not on streaming services. I mean, there's a Criterion streaming service, but like that goes in with it. But I think I want to do another Ingmar Bergman movie, maybe The Seventh Seal, I guess, because I still need to see that. So maybe that,
Seven
and
Seal or
then
Wild Strawberries is good too.
Wild Strawberries. Okay, I'll be probably looking at those two, and then maybe another Tarkovsky. I have a couple of him, but I've been really enjoying him, and I know they've got almost his whole discography on Criterion. So maybe another them, but I also might look at another box set. I got a last time they did this, I ended up getting one of those box sets they have. I got the Wong Kar-wai box set, and I hadn't. The only movie I saw before I got the box set was In the Mood for Love, and I absolutely loved that movie. I thought it was so good on so many levels. So I was like, I need to watch more of him. So I'm gonna get this box set, and I feel like that's the most bang for your buck, because
Oh yeah,
it's like a 160 $200 box set that's going to be only like $80 because it's half off,
right.
and you get I think it came with seven of his movies, and I feel like that's just a W for Criterion. So I might try and look and get another box set. That actually might be my goal.
I have a few of their box sets. I have the Godzilla set, which is
Oh,
absolutely
really?
incredible. But
Dang.
good luck finding anywhere to display it because it's friggin'
Yeah.
huge. And I have the Bruce Lee box set.
Oh, I didn't even know they had a Bruce Lee box set.
Yeah, it's dude, it's awesome.
That's hype.
It's
I might
great.
have to look into that too. I need to watch more kung fu, man. That's the other thing that I've been trying to get into. I got like a little taste of it. Like I watched Police Story a while back ago, and I watched the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon one, because they released that on 4K not too long ago, and I picked that up and watched that one immediately. And I really like them. I need to get more into them. I know, don't you mess with kung fu movies a lot? Don't you like those?
Not a whole lot, but I do when I watch them, I do enjoy them. I have a few over on the shelf. I
Right?
think I
That's
had
what I'm
made a
saying.
video replying to you. You had made a video about some Jackie Chan movie. I can't remember which one it was,
Yeah, I think it was Police Story. I think because
but
that was
yeah,
unreal.
you had mentioned that you wanted to get more into Jackie Chan, and I mentioned to you in that video that you should watch um, Fearless Hyena.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with Fearless Hyena, though, is that it's only available through 88 Films, and it's a Region B locked. So do you have a Region Free
Oh.
player?
No, I have not even looked into that. I remember the first time I got swindled by Amazon. I mean, it's my
Mm,
fault for not actually paying attention. But somehow, sometimes when you go to Amazon and you buy something and you don't really notice at first that it's a region B or region whatever. I got one of those and it didn't play. And then it made me like Google search like how to play it. And I found out that there was players that could play it, and so I was like, do I want to go down that road? Because I know that opens up a lot more movies for me.
yeah,
So, do you have one?
I do. Um,
Nice.
I will give you. I can give you a quick little pros and cons of it. Um,
Yeah.
and I can tell you exactly where to get one. Where I recommend if you just want a cheap region free Blu-ray player to just expand your horizons.
Yes.
Go to Orbit DVD. Go to their
Orbit
website.
DVD.
They're where I order most of my Blu-rays from. They're this awesome mom and pop video store based out of Asheville, North Carolina, and
Okay.
they do they have such a good online presence. Like, I would say probably most of their business comes from online orders. It's awesome. And they sell modded region free Blu-ray and 4K players there. I bought mine there and it was
Okay.
only $100.
That's not too bad.
So,
I'm on their website right now, and I'm looking at this Evil Dead Rise steelbook, and it is amazing. Why am I on? Get me off this site. What are you doing to me? I'm
but
about to go on vacation.
I will tell you, I bought my region free player, and the same order that I bought that region free player, I ordered a bunch of region B
Of
Blu-rays.
course, you have to, right? You have to.
Yeah, because I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna test it." Fearless Hyena
Right.
was one of them.
Yeah.
Fearless Hyena and Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3 were the reasons that I bought the region free player, but I also bought a couple more. Um,
Hmm.
but that was over a year ago, and I've not bought another like a region B DVD or Blu-ray since.
Okay. Yeah.
So it really depends on if like now whenever you open your horizons up to that, there are a lot of other companies that you are able to explore. 88 Films, Eureka, Second Sight, 101, a lot of those English, British, UK companies.
Hmm.
Um, but then some of them do region free anyway, or they're starting to make their way over here. 88 is one that has started to produce movies for region A now, some of their more popular titles. So
Okay.
chances are some of those movies might come to the US. Um,
Okay. Just maybe a little more patience.
maybe. I mean, it's really up to you. It's really up to if you find a movie or two that you could justify that you really want to own, and you could
Hmm.
justify the extra $100 purchasing that player. For me, it's justified because like Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3, those were from Scream Factory and they're out of print now. And they're like
Okay.
pretty expensive online, but I paid $14 a piece for them for the 88 Films
Nice.
Blu-rays. And
That's not bad.
then Fearless Hyena has never had an American release that was not bootlegged.
Hmm. Wow.
So the
Uh,
fact that 88 went in and did an actual 2K restoration on the film for
mhm.
it being one of Jackie Chan's first films before he even left Hong Kong was kind of crazy to me that they did that for that movie. They gave it that really good treatment. There's bonus features and commentary and everything on it, and it's great. I kind of akin um 88 to like Arrow Video in a way, and I akin Eureka and BFI to like Criterion.
Okay. All right. I get what you're saying. Because Arrow loves those like independent horror films that no one has ever really heard of unless you're a really true horror fan. Like I feel like the horror genre is so beloved. Like I feel like that genre is like that has the most love than any other genre.
It does, and the boutique labels that put these releases out put so much love and TLC into these releases. Arrow is awesome for that kind of horror. But at the end of the day, the nichest Arrow is probably not even as deep a cut as the most like popular horror release from a Vinegar Syndrome. Do you have any
Mhm.
Vincent?
So I got 3 Vinegar Syndrome just because I had to see what was going on. I feel like I followed a couple people that were getting Vinegar Syndrome pretty often, and I, like, just never heard of it, and I didn't even know like, every time someone was like, "Oh, I got this from" I never heard of that movie in my life. I've never seen it, never heard of it, and I was just beside myself, so I went on and I spent probably I'm no lie, like an hour scrolling through movies, just like scrolling, just been like I just could not believe what some of these movies were about. And so I got 3 um oh man, I forgot the title of a couple of them. One was this like rock musical. It's called Voyage of the Rock Aliens, and it was amazing. It was probably the weirdest thing I've ever seen. It was a musical. It was a rock musical about aliens, and it was perfect in every way. And I was like, I cannot believe there's a company out here that just like supports these kind of movies, and it's awesome. It's so cool.
Vinegar Syndrome is awesome, but they are also dangerous because the thing with Vincent is they are kind of like wearing beer goggles. They make their
Yeah.
movies look incredible with these
Mm-hmm.
amazing scans, and their
Mm-hmm.
packaging is so good, and
So good.
the cover arts are amazing and they're pretty to look at, and then
Discard.
the disc art's awesome and they're loaded down with bonus features, and then you watch the movie and it's freaking terrible.
Yeah, it's so bad.
It's
Oh my
literally
god,
I like to call Vinegar Syndrome the beer syndrome. It is because
dude.
they will make an ugly girl look like the most gorgeous creature that's ever walked this planet, man. One movie that I purchased from Vincent that was a turd is a movie called Girls School Screamers. It's like about this like all girls school, like Catholic girls school, and they go to this like old mansion to like clean it up over a weekend because like it's going to go on auction, and then the sale of the auction, the money is going to go to their Catholic girls school and stuff, and then the mansion's like haunted and stuff. And I was like, yo, that sounds cool, and I like movies that are like smutty and stuff like that. Like I was like, yo,
Hmm.
this could be a fun movie. No,
Hmm.
it was a turd, bro.
No.
It was a turd. It
Yeah.
had one really grotesque scene with some amazing like practical effects, but
Hmm.
everything else in that movie was just not good. It wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen, but it was a far cry from being a good movie. And
Yeah.
that was one of the few times that I've been, it was probably the worst time I've been burned on Vincent. So I mean, all things considered, it not being an absolute bomb of a movie, just kind of a turd. I mean, I'll keep it around in the collection. It's a fun
Yeah.
conversation piece because it
Yeah.
looks cool.
Well, and I feel like that's like the fun of it, and I feel like that's why it works so well is because like you don't see movies like this like being advertised or anything. Like you, the only way that you will watch or hear of this movie is if you buy it from Vinegar Syndrome. And sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes that's a terrible thing. But the other one that I got too is, and I've seen this one too, is Married to the Mob. And this actually had decent reviews on Letterboxd, so I kind of went into it being like, "Oh shit, is this actually going to be pretty good?" And I watched it, and it just did not hit for me. And it actually has a decent. It has Michelle Pfeiffer and Alec Baldwin in it, and I just did not get the humor in it at all. I thought it was so. I thought it was so dull and boring, and I don't know. I wish I liked it a little more. There was a couple parts where I thought were cool, and Michelle Pfeiffer is hot, but I was just like, this ain't for me. The last one that I got, I haven't seen it yet though. Is Iceman Cometh.
I've
So
heard
that's the
about both of those, Married to the Mob and Iceman Cometh. I'm pretty sure those were actually fairly recent releases from Vincent. I've not seen either of them though, so
yeah, no, it is. It's a tricky weight to pull. I think every collector, physical, at least like physical media collector, DVD collector, should like give it a try, even if it's just one, because I think it's such a fun thing to do. Like you said, it's just kind of like you never know what you're gonna get, but oh, that packaging is so nice, and the discard, and even like even like the inside, like of the deep, because like some Blu-rays, most Blu-rays, when you put like the cover art in it, you know what I'm saying? How you can take that in and out. It's just on the outside, but with Vinegar Syndrome, it's on the inside too. Like you'll have
mhm.
like a description of the movie to the left with everyone with all the actors and special features listed, and then even behind the disc is disc art, and I feel
Yep.
like that's so rare for like a Blu-ray to have. Like I have a couple older Blu-rays that kind of have like a little bit of art behind the disc, but nowhere near where Vinegar Syndrome is. Like I'm looking at mine right now, and it's a whole. it's a whole painting, it's a whole image. Like it's just so cool.
That is the reversible cover art. That's what Scream Factory and Arrow really pioneered doing out first. That
Okay.
what they do usually is they will do the original like theatrical cover art, but like what it would be
Yeah.
like if you bought the original like DVD or saw it in a rental store or whatever.
Mhm.
They'll do that on one side, and then they do the newly commissioned art that they pay to have done on the actual sale side of it. Um, I myself personally, I even though I love the newly commissioned arts, I prefer the actual theatrical posters most of the time. So I'll actually
Yeah.
reverse it over and display the theatrical art. Um, but Scream Factory has slowed down on doing that. And something that I actually have a big complaint with them at now is that where they're doing a lot, they're like re-releasing a lot of their movies in 4K. If it's a re-release in 4K, it doesn't have the reversible cover art. It's just their commissioned art. It doesn't come with the original poster art.
I was just getting ready to say the only Arrow videos that I own one, two, three, I own five, and they're all in 4K. And I just looked at it, and yeah, they don't have that.
Yeah.
I would enjoy that. So yeah, I'm on that train of come on, let's bring those to the 4Ks, the re-release, because
Yep.
I have the Flatliners one. That's honestly such a good movie. I love that movie. I love Kiefer Sutherland, and the art they have for it is pretty sick. But I think I'm with you where I would prefer the theatrical art on it because I really liked that image that the theatrical is for.
Yeah, dude. Absolutely same. Like the the thing is it's nice to have their art that they commissioned, and I really
Hmm.
do feel like they're art pieces. Like they're great for displaying, but it's
Hmm.
really just a preference thing. I know a lot of
For
collectors that
sure.
prefer that, and especially if it comes with a slip cover, because the slip
Yeah.
cover
Hmm.
always has the newly commissioned art. So if especially if it has a slip cover, what I will do is I will put the theatrical art on to the reversible side
Hmm.
and have that on display underneath the slipcover, so that way I get the best of
But
both
yeah.
worlds, you know?
Hmm. 100%. That's the way to do it right there. You know, I used to. So, dude, I didn't. I was not into slipcovers when I first started collecting movies. I took them off and I threw them away. it's like a it's like a dirty sin, and I just let that out of the bag for
Ju
sure. But
just
yeah, when I
FYI, that I kind of thought that's where you were gonna go with that. I'm not that shocked by it because I hear that often, but I know there's a lot of people
oh
listening right
yeah,
now
oh
that
yeah,
just
yeah,
gasped or
yeah.
unfollowed you.
I don't do that anymore though. I keep them. I keep them now. But a lot of times they're just the same exact thing. Like I don't get the slipcover because it's one thing if the slipcover is different from what is on behind it. But I don't. I mean, if the slipcover is to protect the actual case, yeah, I guess. But I don't know. For when I first started collecting, I did not like them. So I just like everyone too, like I feel like everyone I follow, they collect the J cards on the back of like steelbooks or 4Ks and stuff. I do not collect those. I throw them away.
I keep J cards on steelbooks, but not for a collector's purpose. Not like I keep
Why
J
do you keep
cards
them?
for the opposite reason because of the information. Because I don't want to
Yeah.
have to put
Okay.
the disc in or Google what the bonus features are if I want to know what the
Yeah.
bonus features are. So I
That's true.
actually
That's
will
true.
take those J cards and I fold them up and stick them inside the case and just keep them. I
That's not a bad idea because then you still can't see it, but then if you want to look at it and see what is on the disc and stuff, you can still do that. I like
mhm.
that.
And see, I love Lionsgate steelbooks because they have
Oh
that
my god.
that plastic protective slipcover that has all the
Mm-hmm.
artwork over it and
Mm-hmm.
changes the picture. But then on most of them, they also have the stuff printed on the back of that slipcover that
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like I've said this before on TikTok. I just don't want to lose that information. Like if I am having trouble, if I'm standing next to my movie shelf and I'm having trouble remembering who's in this movie, I want to be able to just flip it over or pull the
And
J card
see.
out and just see without having to pull my phone out and find the movie and scroll through IMDb and figure out which character is who. And the pictures, it might be a movie that's like 30 years old, and the picture of the person is from 2 years ago, and they look way different. So I'm having to remember character names as well. Or I don't want to have to put the disc into my player in order to see what kind of bonus features there are. I do a lot of reviews, man. So like
Mhm.
if when I'm reviewing something, I don't want to have to put the disc in when I'm like sitting at my computer and keep looking at the disc to type down on my notes what the reviews are. I just want to have the J card so I can see what the bonus features are. I want to see that. I don't know, man. That's the only reason I can think to keep it. Um, I know that I think I would say that probably most people throw them away, though. I would ultimately, if it comes down to it, I would say most people throw J cards away.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get that, but at the same time, I think I like what you do because you keep it, but it's not on display. I think it makes the steelbook and just the DVDs way more like bulky and less sexy, you
Yep.
know, especially my steel books. I want them looking nice, which I like when you brought up the Lionsgate. Lionsgate has been killing the steelbook game recently.
They're
Every new
best.
Lionsgate steelbook, I'm like, I need it. I need it now.
Yep.
I need it right away.
They
Like that
make
Lord of the good.
they make the best steel books around, hands down, unbeaten. You
Yeah.
cannot
So,
convince me that any other. I don't care how fancy schmancy the boutique label is. Scream Factory's doing steel books, Arrow's doing steel books. None of them compare to Lionsgate, and I'll tell you why. It's because of that protective artwork on the plastic protective sleeve. They put artwork on it that will change your
mhm,
picture to something
mhm,
awesome, and then you take the artwork off, and it's a
mhm,
completely different picture.
mhm.
And that adds protection, and the price. They're $22 for a Lionsgate steelbook. Any
And some most of the time they're 4K too. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, steelbook and 4K, $22. I mean, that's solid. Like that is so good.
So did you see you saw the Matilda steelbook, right? From Sony
Yeah, I
coming
saw.
out?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
That shit's $40. They want
That's
$40 for
crazy.
that.
No, no,
On
thank you.
on Amazon, by the way. On I'm
Yeah,
sure it will go because it doesn't come out till September. So it'll probably go down to probably 30 is what I would say
it
it'll bottom
better.
out at retail. And I'd say Best Buy will probably carry it for a similar price, maybe 35, but they always price match to Amazon anyway. Um
Yeah.
but still, that steelbook, it's a cool steelbook, but man, it's nowhere near as cool as
Oh.
anything that Lionsgate drops.
Dude, I just picked up the Lord of War steelbook, and like you're saying, the sleeve itself is dope, but it like interacts with the steelbook that's under it. So with the Lord of War, if you've seen it, he rocks these glasses constantly. He like has them on the whole movie. And on the steelbook, when you take the slipcover off, the glasses come off his face basically, and you'll see the whole picture of him without his glasses on, and it's so dope. It's such a cool, intricate way, and I feel like they really let the artists do what they want to do and make the art beautiful rather than have them minimalize it. And like I love when steelbooks don't have the title of the movie on the steelbook itself, because like I'm like, I know what this is. Like this is why I'm getting it, because it's so different than rather than the actual Blu-ray or 4K. Like this is like an art piece almost, in my opinion. Like I'm collecting these for a totally different reason. Like some steelbooks I own in Blu-rays or DVDs, but like when I want to go watch it, I'll rather get unless it's a 4K. If it's a 4K steelbook and I don't have it in 4K, I'll watch it in 4K. But if I already own it in Blu-ray or whatever, I'll choose the Blu-ray disc rather than like get out my steelbook and everything. Like I love going through my steelbooks and looking at them and collecting them, but they're more of like an art situation to me because a lot of those cases are just beautiful.
I think it's Steelbook Obsessed on TikTok.
Hmm.
He has like these like magnets on his wall that he will like
Hmm.
place his steelbooks on
So
display.
fucking cool.
Right.
So fucking cool.
It's the
Yeah.
best, dude. Like I want to get some of those for mine.
That's what I'm saying. Really need to. We were trying to move out to upgrade our space, but we didn't make the deadline, so we're staying here one more year. So I gotta really keep in check this year, so it doesn't get too big.
I always have to keep in check. I wanted to know. So I know how my wife feels about my collecting. How does your wife feel about your collecting?
She loves it. She is the most supportive person ever I've ever met in my life. And she supports all things. I mean, I had really bad ADHD growing up when I was a kid, and I still obviously have ADHD, but it just goes in a different direction now that I'm an adult. Like it's just different tendencies. Like I can keep my attention on things, and I know how, like, I've coped with all this, but like I feel like I'm hyperactive on like certain things, like my emotions and like collecting. Like I get really hyperactive. Like I got really into Legos and I built a lot of Legos. And then I got into Funkos and I got really into Funkos. And then I got into DVDs and I got really into DVDs. And DVDs is kind of like just taking over my hyperfixation. And I feel like it's a cheaper, I mean, it's definitely not cheap, but it's cheaper than being addicted to building Legos. Like I wasn't
Yeah.
addicted, but it was what I love doing, and I was hyper fixated on it. So
Right.
being able to collect DVDs is one thing, but then you also be able, like, my wife likes watching movies too, so we can sit down and watch movies, and she can pick out what she wants to watch on certain days, and vice versa. So she's super supportive, and I mean, I have a disgusting amount of Funkos too. So I mean, I'm just a lucky guy.
See, I consider myself lucky as well because my wife is ultimately supportive, though she bitches and moans through it a lot just because of the money I spend. Do you watch Mid Level Media's YouTube channel at all?
No, I do not.
So Ken, from Mid Level Media, I highly recommend him to anybody. He's a awesome YouTuber. He's the best one stop shop to find out what's coming out every single week. He does a show on his channel called the Physical Media Report. If you're not watching that to find out what's coming on or what's coming out, I don't know what you're doing. So I don't know Ken hardly two ways from Sunday, but I'm gonna shout him out here. But
Oh yeah.
every month he does what's called the Blu-ray audit with his wife. He has his wife sit next to him. He goes over every single thing he picked up, shows it off to the camera, and tells his wife how much it was. And his wife tallies it up. And now I know that like
Oh god.
she's acting, or at least I hope she's acting when she's like
Yeah.
chewing him out and stuff and nagging at him about it. Like I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure she's just acting about it. Like I don't think that he's actually like putting their family in any kind of financial danger by collecting. But I will show my wife his video about that every single month just to let her know how much worse it could be.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, and like me and my wife, we have separate bank accounts. We have separate, like, cash flows. We're both servers and part-time managers at the places we work at. So it's like we're situated, she's situated. She knows that I am smart with my money. Yes, I do spend a decent amount of money on Blu-rays and DVDs, but at the same time, like, everyone has their thing, man, and everyone can think whatever they want about everyone other's things. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's buying makeup, buying clothes, buying video games, buying cars, buying watches, shoes. I feel like everyone has something, whether they realize it or not. Books
Oh,
too.
dude, yeah, dude. Hmm.
I mean, the book talk is huge on TikTok.
Yep.
I personally have a Kindle. I just don't have room to be picking up books like that left and right. I just don't have the room. So I have a Kindle. I love to read, but yeah, it's just everyone has their thing, man, and everyone spends money on stuff. I mean, people go out to eat every single day too, but you don't hear everyone. I mean, I know you got to eat to live, but at the same time, there's cheaper ways to eat than eating out every night. It's
Right.
just everyone has their thing. So it's like I try not to, like, harp on anyone, and I feel like that's the view that, my wife has too. Is she's like, hey, if you're paying rent and you're paying and we're paying the bills and everything together and everything's fine, then I don't care what you do with your money, and if it makes you happy, it makes you happy. We only have one life to live, and I always try to keep that in perspective whenever I'm, like, kind of feeling down about myself about, I guess, I don't want to say wasting money because I don't view it as a waste, but other people obviously view it as a waste. So when sometimes I get down on myself and I'm kind of looking around and being like, well, I wonder how much money I'd have if I didn't. I mean, dude, screw that. This stuff makes me happy. It brings joy to my life. And if I pass away tomorrow, none of it matters. I can't take anything with me. I can't take the money. And yeah, I could give it to my family, obviously, but like it's just me and my wife. And I just that's the way I view my life, and that's the way I want to live my life. And I feel like everyone should just live their life like that too. Just love what you love unconditionally and be proud of it, and don't let other people tell you what to do with your money or your time. You know, because you ain't got none to spare.
And that right there is the soundbite that I'm going to use when I'm putting this on TikTok to promote your
Let's go.
episode.
Let's go.
No, but seriously, I'm the same way, man. Like I'll tell you, I lost my stepfather in 2021. He was 50 years old, and he worked like a dog all his life, and it was kind of
Hmm.
all for naught. So that really shifted my perception of things too. And I'm like, my goal is just to make enough money to eat, pay the bills,
Hmm.
go places that I want to go, and to collect my movies. And I'm kind of like you too with that hyperfixation thing. My wife actually thinks that I have ADD as well. Um, I collect vinyl, I collect
Hmm.
movies, I collect video games. Not so much the video games anymore. I have also a disgusting amount of Funko Pops.
I love
Um,
that.
I don't collect them anymore. I had to stop myself on
y-
those.
there has to be a line at a certain point because it's a never-ending black hole.
Yeah,
Okay, you don't get out of
dude, I'll tell
it.
you what drew the line for me is I have so many Dragon Ball Z pops, so
Oh,
many,
dude,
and
yeah, they just get you.
they kept coming and kept coming and kept
Yeah.
coming. And I used to work at GameStop, and we sold them, and I got a discount on them. So that's where my
Oh
collection
no.
came from. So
Oh no, yeah. I can see that. I would do the same thing.
and
Because
then
that's what I tried to be
yeah,
like. I'm not gonna collect any Star Wars Funkos. I don't want to. And I was like, oh, I got three, and then I got three more, and then I got three more, and I was like, they're never gonna stop making new Star Wars. I have to stop collecting Star Wars Funkos because they're not gonna stop. So then I kind of shifted to just movies. So anything like I stayed away from anime. I stayed away from like Marvel too, even though those are movies, but Marvel's the same way. It's an endless black hole of Marvel. So I try to stick with like I got Blade Runner pops and Dune pops. I got Wayne's World. I got Garth and Wayne. I got a couple directors, E.T., Batman. So I just try to stick to movies, but I mean even that's a black hole, but it's like a smaller black hole, you know?
dude, I ran out of complete space for them. Like, you know where all my Funko Pops are? They're
In a
packed up.
storage unit?
They're well, not a storage unit, but they're packed up in totes upstairs in my knee walls.
Yeah.
Like, because
Yeah.
I just do not have the room to display them. I have 3 pop figures out, one's a double pack, and that's well, no, we I guess we have 4 because my wife has, Rapunzel and Lumiere from Beauty
Okay.
and the Beast on display, and
Nice.
I've got, the New York Comic Con 2019 exclusive Jay and Silent Bob, Bluntman and Chronic 2-pack,
Ooh. I
and,
just picked up Kevin Smith the other day.
oh, dope. And then I've got the 2020 SummerCon exclusive Iron Bob from Reboot on display,
Damn.
and
Heck yeah.
those are in my like Kevin Smith collection on my Blu-ray shelf.
Your
Um,
holy grail Funkos.
Pretty much, yeah. I would love to
Do
get
you have
just an actual Kevin Smith, but I don't have him.
Yeah, he was at Disc Replay. I saw him and scooped him up immediately for like a good old $12. So I was like, I'll take that shit. That's what's up. He has his hat on backwards and everything.
Oh,
It's
that's dope.
amazing.
Is he wearing a hockey
Yeah.
jersey or a blazer?
Blazer. It's like a pink blazer, a purple blazer, I
So
believe.
that's one of the newer ones. The older ones where he was wearing the hockey jerseys, dude, those
Oh
go
yeah, that is
for
one. Yeah.
money, like
Do
a
you
couple
have
hundred
any
bucks.
expensive ones, like super expensive ones?
So I had one that was insanely expensive, and then they reprinted it, and it dropped value like a freaking brick.
Wow.
It was the
Kind of like
first.
how.
It was the first ever Joker that they ever made, and
Oh, okay.
it was like when I bought it. it was worth like $600, and then they reprinted it, and it dropped down to like it's worth 10, which is less than
Yeah,
MSRP. I was like, oh,
that
I should have
that
flipped it.
hurts.
I should have flipped it because I don't even care about the
But
pop that
yeah,
much.
yeah.
I found it in a comic shop. I thought it was cool, and when I went home and scanned it into the Funko Collector app, the value of it was like $600. Like, oh,
Oh yeah, little did you know. That's how everyone's about to feel when they re-release Dogma, huh? Everyone's gonna be like, "Oh,
I can't wait.
this
I can't
hundred
wait.
dollar blue." I mean, I'm for it. I'm for it. It needs to get out there. The movie's hilarious. I watch it like once a year now
I
that
watched
I
it just
own
the
it,
other day.
maybe twice a year. Yeah, I showed it to my wife the other day, like I would say like 2 weeks ago. We watched it.
Mhm.
It's so good. I feel like it's one of his most well-written movies, just because it has a lot of history involved in it, and a lot of like religion, but all of it checks out. Like all of those stories are like by the book and everything. He just interweaves it into his story to make it all work. I feel like that's probably my like favorite like written Kevin Smith movie.
If you get a chance, if you ever find this like at a comic book store or anything, or if, like any of those stores you go to sell comics, and you ever find this, pick it up and read it. It's a comic book that Kevin wrote called Chasing Dogma, and
Okay.
it's what ties Dogma into the rest of the View Askew universe. It takes place
Oh.
after Jay and Silent Bob leave the diner with Holden and
Mm-hmm.
Chasing Amy,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
it's the story that what happens in between there and when they show up at the clinic in Dogma.
Huh. Okay. Okay. Dude, that diner scene in Chasing Amy is hilarious.
Oh yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, no, I only have one Funko that's like it's worth like $75, not even that much, but that's probably like my highest highest valued one. It's the Lost Boys. It's Vampire David.
ooh, I think Zed
Yeah.
has that one.
Oh hell yeah. Yeah, it's a
I
good one.
might
I
actually
love
have that one. I know I
because
have some of the Lost
there's a
Boys.
Vampire David and then there's a Vampire David eating noodles.
I know I have Michael for sure, and I think I have one of the Davids. And also to be fair, as far as value goes, like these pops have literally been up in totes since 2020.
Oh,
And
who knows? Maybe you got
yeah,
one laying in there.
yeah, once because my wife and I are fixing to move soon,
Okay.
hopefully. So once we're able to have more space for them, and I plan to actually go through them and figure out what's worth selling because I don't really have I've kind of really grown out of them out of the need to
Mhm.
display them. There's some that I would
Mhm.
want to keep, like the actual movie ones I'd want to keep, but
For
like
sure.
all those Dragon Ball Z ones are going on eBay for sure. I'll probably sell them as a
Yeah.
big lot. Like
Yeah.
I have
I,
tons of them. Too many.
I feel like he'll get a buyer though. I mean, there's a lot of people that are all Funko all day dude, for a while I was on before I came to movie TikTok, I was on Funko TikTok for a little bit and like early on in my TikTok span, but there'd just be like people that had basements that just walls and walls and walls of Funkos. And I just am like, I cannot get there. Like there has to be a line where I have to draw myself
Yep.
before it gets to that because that is too many.
I want to know how you got involved in the creator space on TikTok. I asked Zed this same question, and Zed just had a lovely little story. So I want to hear every time somebody comes on this podcast, since the thing that we all have in common, other than ideally we love movies and ideally we collect physical media, is that this podcast is for other creators by the creators. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
want to know what your backstory is, what kicked you off to join the platform that we've all been growing together on.
Well, I would just because dude, like I never did any YouTube. I never did anything. Like I don't know how to edit. I don't know how to do anything, man. And like I if you would have told me that I would have started making like TikTok videos and stuff, I wouldn't have believed you. I just that's not the kind of person that I thought I was or am. And I started getting more and more into the film talk aspect of TikTok too. And so I was seeing everyone review movies. I was seeing people collect movies, and it made me feel like Because when you collect movies and you literally don't know anyone in your life that collects movies, you feel like you're so like weird and just like against the norm, I guess you would say. I just felt almost like alone in a way of just like, oh, I'm like one of the last people that collect DVDs. And I get on TikTok and I'm like, dude, there's so many people out there that collect and love collecting. And so I just kind of got on TikTok because I wanted to share movies that I found like along my collection, me collecting, that don't really, at least I never really heard about, that were like older movies, especially um like Carlito's Way, I remember, and like
Oh, it's
I
such a good movie.
remember
Such a good movie.
such a good movie. I remember Come and See was one of the earlier videos I did. I just like watched that movie and I was like, I have to like share this movie. I have to like let people know about this movie. Even though only 20 people are going to see this, those 20 people need to know about this. And I feel like that was my mindset on things. It kind of just started with, let me pick a movie from my collection and let me talk about it, go into detail about it, and hopefully others will kind of pick this up. And so it just started out as like a little review section, and I wouldn't review any new movies. I would only review movies from my collection. And then when I started kind of like seeing like collectors and DVD hauls and all this like sort of thing, I was like, dude, that kind of looks like fun. And I buy DVDs every other week. So I kind of hopped on that train. I did a haul video, and then I think it really turned over for me and clicked for me that I was like, I'm gonna keep doing this. I I went and I think it was oh man, I really want to get this creator's name right. But I saw him talking about Facebook Marketplace, and I was like, okay, like Nerdy Dustin, that's who it was. Nerdy Dustin, he's
Dirty
awesome.
Dustin's awesome, dude. So awesome.
Yeah, and he's kind of damn near on what kind of made me get into it. He's very much himself. He loves movies. He loves collecting, and I was like, I love the confidence he portrayed, and I was like, I want to be in on this, and so I went to this Facebook haul, and I got like 70 movies from this guy for like $60 or something. It was something stupid, and obviously not all of them were in good condition. Others were better. I got good finds, bad finds. But I shared that video, and it didn't blow up or anything, but it had a lot of like people were commenting on it, people were interacting, it wasn't just like, oh, like it, go buy it. Like I feel like TikTok especially, the community was so good in the fact that people are commenting, people are been like, oh, nice haul, nice pickups, like, oh, I have this, or you should get this. And I feel like once I posted that video and saw how many people were interacting with like just me getting DVDs, doing something I love, I was like, yeah, this is it for me. I like it. I love it. I love these people. And now, almost a year later, I'm still doing it, and I'm go diving even deeper into it, meeting new people, talking to new people, and everyone kind of shares that love of movies. But not only that, just collecting them too. It was really cool to see, and I really liked it. And I was like, yep, this is something I need to keep doing. So I feel like that's kind of where it was for me.
That's an awesome story, man. That's very similar to what happened to me. And instead of Nerdy Dustin that I saw, it was you, and it was Chris, Overly Honest Movie Reviews, that I
Yeah, I
saw
love Chris
first, and
over Chris.
I was like, oh man, like these guys are out here talking about movies, and even more than talking about movies, they're talking about physical media, like something I've been I've been messing with for all my life. Like these are my people,
Hmm.
man. These are my people.
Hmm.
And so I'm like, I got to get into on this and start doing this. So like, yeah, thank you for for being one of the ones to lead the way for a guy like me to start doing TikTok. That's freaking amazing.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that thank you, and that's awesome to know too, because you followed me very early in my TikTok lifespan. I followed you back very early, and so it's kind of see us both grow in a way and become more confident and be able to talk about what we love with other people. It's just been awesome to see, and awesome to see that this community is full of like awesome, nice people, and it's not tied down to a bunch of trolls. It's just like
Mhm.
everyone's very genuine and everyone seems very nice, and it's been awesome. And I mean, I feel like especially me and you interacting, it's just what keeps me wanting to make videos.
Same.
I don't want to have a lot of followers or anything. It's just those small interactions you have with people about something that you thought you like, because you interacted on that come and see video. That video only had like 12 likes and a couple comments, but you commenting on it and reaching out and being like, dude, yeah, that movie's fucking crazy. And then literally the next day I saw you, like, not the next day, but a couple weeks later, you were like, you watched it again and everything, and you did a review on it too. And I was like, that's just awesome to see, man. It's just people connecting so far away. I don't even know you, and we're connecting on this movie.
Hmm.
It's really cool.
Which side note, come and see anybody who's listening. That
Uh,
that movie is a Criterion. It is coming on sale next month during July. I think it's safe to say Drew and I both
yeah,
highly recommend it.
highly,
That's
highly.
such a impactful film. But
It's
Drew, I was just looking at your TikTok here. You're sitting right now. I know you said you're not too crazy about the idea of getting a whole bunch of followers. You don't care about that. You just want to have the interactions. But you are currently sitting at a pretty impressive 1,082 followers. So you have hit that 1,000 mark. Do you have any desire to do lives?
Oh, I've thought about doing lives, but I just don't know if I'm the kind of person that can keep a live going. I know oh man, his name is Drew, but he's a steelbook guy. He has so many steelbooks. Um, he does lives every now and then, and I'll hop in those. And I feel like he's so good at like keeping the conversation going, and he has so many cool steelbooks that he can just keep showing off and stuff. So I don't know. I mean, here's a rest in peace shout out to Movie Nerd. I mean,
Oh
he's
God,
not
yeah.
dead or anything, but he's no longer on TikTok. But he would go live and sometimes just like show whatever movie he's watching that night. He would just set up the live and let the movie rip. And I've thought about a couple times doing that just because that kind of seems more up my alley of like, come share this moment with me of we're gonna watch this movie together, and maybe I'll talk about it afterwards if people are like in the chat and watching the movie with me. But I
I
don't
don't,
know.
I don't know
I've
if I'd
never really
recommend
given
doing
it
that.
thought.
I don't know if I'd recommend doing that, man. Uh,
Okay, okay.
TikTok could kick you off for copyright infringement.
Oh, well, there you go. So, yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I'm also so busy with work, and then I want to come home and watch movies and stuff. I want to keep the TikTok thing to when I have time to do it and stuff, and not kind of like stress myself out to do things that like I don't necessarily want to do, I guess. I don't know. Maybe one day, but I feel like I like where I'm at right now.
Well, I'll tell you, I am currently sitting at 818 followers. It's my goal that by the end of the summer to have 1,000 to be able to go live. That's my personal
Uh,
goal.
I feel like we
And
can get you there. I feel
I
like we
feel
get
like we
you
can
there
too. I've gained like 60 or so in the last week.
Nice.
Like I'm growing. It's a slow but sure thing. It's happening.
For sure. Yeah.
I manage a couple followers a day usually. But the reason I want to go live is because honestly, the whole thing that geared me into starting this podcast was somebody who I cannot name yet, but I will tell the listeners of this podcast the next episode you will know because he should be the next reveal. Is
Yeah.
another film talker in our community that I know we all know and love, and he hit me up and he was like, "Yo, you ever want to go live?" And I'm like, I was sitting there at like 600 followers, and I was like, "I can't yet, bro. I don't have 1,000 followers." He's like, "Bro, when you do, hit me up. We got to go live." And I'm like, "All right, bet." And then I'm like, "But I'm like willing to collaborate in other ways too if I can't go live." And he's like, "Yes, heck yes, let's do that." So
Oh yeah.
that interaction and what the desire to collaborate with him to go live is one of the biggest reasons. It's one of the there's a few reasons for this show, but it's one of the biggest reasons that this show exists. It probably would not exist without that interaction with that one other film talker that shall not be named
Hmm.
yet. So, um,
That's cool.
that's got my gears turning. what I would like to do, and y'all in that are listening, let us know on TikTok. Let us know in the comments of the YouTube version of this show if you're listening to it on YouTube. If you guys would like this idea, I would like to get all of the hosts once we're all able to assemble in
Mm.
one call on here
Okay.
to
Yeah.
be able to set up. We will talk on Discord, but we will also set our phones up and all go live in one live and have
Ooh.
sometimes do live episodes of
Okay.
Masters of Matinee live on TikTok.
Okay. That's sweet. That's a great idea. I
And
like
then
that a lot.
the actual audio episode would be uploaded to, to Spotify, YouTube and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But for those
Hmm.
that were there to see it live, they're going to see the raw unedited interactions. I just think it'd be really fun.
No, that would be really fun. I like that idea a lot.
All right, well you heard it here first. So that I got Drew to say he'll go live.
Yeah, that's the only way that damn near right now that I'm going live is with you. So we got to get you up there.
All right, man. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and end this show here. Drew, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I hope that you've had as much fun as I have. I've had a big freaking smile on my face the whole time that we've been talking,
Dude,
man. It's so fun.
same here, man. Same here. This was a blast. I loved it. I loved every second.
I appreciate you, and I'm so glad to have you a part of this. And we're gonna get you back on an episode as soon as possible, as soon as you're available. I want to get you back in to record another one because this is great, and I feel like I have so much more I just want to talk to you about.
For sure. I mean, it's hard to end the conversation, honestly.
Oh yeah, it is. But all right, everybody, thank you for listening. You guys have a great week. And there you have it, everyone. The second episode of Masters of Matinee podcast is in the books. We would like to thank everyone who has been listening along and would like to remind you to go ahead and follow Masters of Matinee on YouTube, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Special thanks to this week's co-host and officially the second Master of Matinee, Drewbiedoobiemovie. You can follow Drew over on his TikTok at Drewbiedoobiemovie. That's at DREWBIEDOOBIEMOVIE, and on his Twitter at OG_Lil Peach. Remember to also follow me on TikTok and YouTube at JT the Talking Head, and I'm also on Letterboxd doing written reviews. You can find me there at JT Talking Head. Thank you all so much for listening to this awesome collaborative effort, and remember to stay tuned next week for the reveal of the third and final master. It's a great episode with someone you are all familiar with, and I know you'll all enjoy it. Thanks again for dropping in and listening to us talk about the things we love, movies and physical media. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you next week.